Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're doing something pretty essential, I think. We're giving you a kind of high-speed shortcut into the English you really need for navigating modern life.
Mm-hmm.
We've gathered a whole stack of sources focusing on three key areas: shopping, communication, and tech. Basically, the language of daily transactions and computing.
Yeah, and this isn't just about vocabulary lists. It's more than that.
Yeah.
These areas, the supermarket, your phone plan, your computer, they're where, contemporary English is really alive and kicking.
Right.
Understanding these terms, these phrases, it gives you a direct line into cultural norms, technical stuff you need to know, and just how business works, really, especially globally.
Exactly. So our goal today is to move beyond just the basics. We want to distill the core language, yes, but also the sort of cultural nuances you need for actual fluency. We want you to sound comfortable, you know, whether you're trying to use a coupon correctly or figure out a new phone contract. Okay, let's do it. And where better to start than a place most of us end up at least once a week? The grocery store checkout. All right, so you've done your shopping, you've got your cart full, and now you're faced with the checkout lines. And often you'll see that sign, Express Checkout Lane. Usually says something like 15 items or fewer.
Mm-hmm. That sign, it's not just information, is it? It's like an immediate social contract.
Totally. It sets up an expectation right away.
It absolutely does. The whole point of the express lane is efficiency, right? It's meant to speed things up for people who just have a few things. But the tension comes when someone breaks that unspoken rule.
Like the person with 16 items. Or 17.
Exactly. Suddenly you're holding everyone else up. And you get those looks, That phrase, 15 items or fewer, that's the specific boundary marker in English. It's quite precise.
Yeah, that one extra item, like in our source material, can put you in this awkward spot where you're suddenly trying to, charm the cashier into letting it slide. But okay, before we get to negotiating, let's talk about the physical process. You put your items on the belt.
Right, the belt. And that's a great example of context, isn't it? Here, belt, anywhere else. You think of something you wear.
Yeah, around your waist.
But here, in the supermarket context, the belt is that moving conveyor. It just carries your groceries towards the cashier, makes it easy for them to grab things, scan the barcode.
The barcode, those little black and white lines. That's what tells the register the price. But sometimes you can change that price with a coupon.
Yes, coupons. These little pieces of paper, or sometimes digital codes now, they're a pretty big part of consumer culture, especially in the U.S.
So what exactly is a coupon in simple terms?
Well, it's basically a voucher, right? A promise from the seller for a discount on a specific product or maybe a service. But the really crucial thing about coupons, the high utility bit of language here, isn't just knowing what one is, but understanding their time limit. Coupons expire.
Expire. That verb is so useful, isn't it, across so many areas. It means something's too old or it's just not valid anymore.
Precisely. And the consequences of something expiring, they vary wildly. Milk expires, it's spoiled, don't drink it.
Right. Obvious consequence there.
But if your credit card expires maybe 5 years after you got it, well, you just can't use it for payments anymore. It's invalid. Same with a driver's license. If it expires next month, you need to get it renewed or you can't legally drive.
So the common thread is always loss of validity after a set date.
Exactly. Loss of efficacy.
Okay, so you've scanned everything, dealt with any coupons valid or, expired, and now it's time to pay. The cashier, especially in big American chains, will often ask if you have a club card.
The club card. Yeah, that's key to the store strategy. It's a loyalty card, specific to that store or chain. It's not your regular credit or debit card.
So what's the point for the shopper and for the store?
Well, for you, the shopper, it usually gives you access to special discounts, the club price, which might be lower. For the store, it's gold. They use it to track what you buy, analyze your habits, maybe send you personalized offers later. Data.
Got it. Okay, final step. Payment. Debit, credit, cash. Pretty standard. But you flagged a term here as maybe the highest utility one in this whole section. Cash back. Explain how that works, because it is pretty clever.
It really is. Cashback basically turns the grocery store into a mini ATM, but often without the fees. So let's say your groceries total $78.33.
Okay.
You tell the cashier, I'd like $50 cash back. They don't charge your debit card $78.33. They charge it $128.33 the groceries plus the cash.
Oh, right.
Then the register till opens and they simply hand you $50 in cash right there with your receipt.
So you've paid for your stuff and gotten cash out in one go. Super convenient. But it has to be a debit card, right?
Great.
Because the money needs to come straight out of your account.
That's the key distinction, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't work with a credit card because that would be a cash advance, which usually comes with hefty fees and interest. Cash back is linked directly to your available bank funds via debit. Hashtag 1.2 essential fluency phrases for daily life.
All right, mechanics mastered. Now for the conversational bits, the phrases that make these interactions smoother. Let's go back to that person with 16 items. They might plead with the cashier, cut me some slack.
Oh, that's a great one. Cut me some slack. It's informal, friendly, and it's basically asking for leniency. Like, don't be so strict, or could you bend the rules just this once?
You're kind of admitting you're technically wrong, but hoping for understanding.
Exactly. You're appealing to their good nature. And the origin you mentioned from the source is fascinating: mountain climbing.
Right. Asking for slack in the rope, meaning loosen it, give me more freedom to move.
That physical meaning translates perfectly. You know, you're 2 minutes late for work. Sorry, traffic was awful. Cut me some slack, or maybe defending someone else. Look, Emily's had a really rough week. Her mom's sick. We need to cut her some slack on this deadline. It shows empathy.
It really does. Okay, next phrase. This one is pure checkout counter cliche, but absolutely essential. Paper or plastic.
You will hear this constantly. Every single time, it's the cashier asking what kind of bag you want.
Paper bag or plastic bag.
Yep. And having a quick answer ready. Plastic, please, or paper is fine, or even neither. Thanks, I brought my own. It just makes things flow. It's a tiny thing, but it helps you sound like you know the routine, makes you sound more fluent.
Speed things up too. And finally, for those moments when everything seems to go wrong, the club card won't scan, they're out of your favorite ice cream, your coupon just expired.
Ah, yes. The perfect phrase for that is, it's just not my day.
Yes. It's a bit dramatic, maybe?
A little, yeah. But it captures that feeling of minor misfortunes piling up. It implies this isn't the only bad thing that's happened today. This is just the latest irritation. You're acknowledging the bad luck. Hashtag tag 1.3 supermarket cultural context. Focus on U.S. practices.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. Talk about the broader supermarket culture, particularly in the U.S., based on our sources. One thing that stands out is the workforce itself. Lots of young people working there.
Oh, definitely. Grocery stores are and have been for a long time a really common place for students, high school, college, to get part-time jobs. The hours can be flexible, works around school. You go there evenings or weekends, you'll see a lot of teenagers at the registers.
And the source mentioned a kind of typical, maybe slightly dated now, but historically common division of labor.
Yeah, it pointed out that often you'd see high school girls working as the cashiers, handling the money, interacting with customers, while the boys might be doing more physical work.
Like working in the back in the warehouse?
Exactly. The warehouse is just the big storage area where they keep all the goods before they go out on the shelves. Or they'd be responsible for stocking the shelves, actually putting the products out for customers.
And bag boys, too. That was a specific role.
Yeah, usually younger teens whose main job was just to put the groceries into the bags, paper or plastic, after they were scanned. It's kind of a first job, an entry into the workforce for many. That whole setup is a noticeable cultural thing.
And that brings us back to coupon culture. It can seem a bit intense, maybe, to people from other places. All that time spent clipping little bits of paper.
It is pretty ingrained here, this idea of thriftiness, of saving money wherever you can. And coupons often come in bulk, like in the Sunday newspaper inserts. You get stacks of them.
But the individual savings can be tiny, right? Like 2 cents off this, 25 cents off that.
True. But the strategy, the thinking, is about accumulation. It's about stacking them.
I know where this is going. It's the total savings at the end that matters.
Precisely. You hand over 10, 15 coupons, suddenly you've saved a good amount of money, maybe $5 or $10, makes the effort seem worthwhile. Plus, there's a psychological aspect. Sometimes people buy something because they have a coupon for it, even if they didn't really need it. It feels like you're winning, maximizing the deal.
That drive to maximize the deal, that's actually a perfect transition to our next big area. Mobile phone plans. Talk about confusing language.
Yeah.
Okay, you walk into a phone store. First big decision. How are you going to pay? And there are basically two main ways, right? Prepaid versus monthly rate.
Yeah, that's the fundamental split. And it really boils down to timing. With a prepaid plan, you pay before you use the service.
Like buying a card with a certain number of minutes or data allowance.
Exactly. You top it up, use it until it runs out, then you top up again. You have total control over spending, no long contract, usually. It's very direct.
And the other option, The monthly rate plan.
That's the subscription model. You use the services, calls, texts, data throughout the month, and then you get a bill afterwards detailing your usage and fees. These are generally more common in the US, often involve a contract, and usually require you to have a credit card or pass a credit check.
Gotcha. Now, regardless of the plan, when you get a new phone or service, you have to do something first. You have to activate it.
Activate. Yes, a very important verb in the tech world. It means to make something work for the first time, to switch it on within the network or system.
We see this everywhere, don't we? You activate your phone, activate new software, activate a new credit card before you use it.
It's that initial handshake between the physical thing and the service provider system. Makes the connection live.
And speaking of the physical thing, the phone itself. In contracts and technical discussions, they often use a specific word, handset.
Right. Handset is just the more technical, formal term for the actual mobile phone device, the thing you hold in your hand. It separates the physical object from the service plan itself.
Okay. Now, if you go for one of those monthly plans, especially ones aimed at people who use their phones a lot, there's often this desirable feature called the rollover option. What's that about?
Rollover is basically about not losing what you paid for. It means if you have, say, 500 minutes included in your plan for the month, but you only use 400.
You don't just lose those extra 100 minutes.
Exactly. With rollover, those 100 unused minutes roll over into the next month's allowance. So next month, you'd start with your usual 500 plus the 100 rolled over, giving you 600. It's a way for companies to seem fair and keep customers happy, especially if their usage varies month to month.
Makes sense. Now, here's where things can get tricky and where you really need to understand the language of the bill. The difference between a fee and a charge. They sound similar, but they're not.
Not at all. And understanding this is key to avoiding surprises. A fee is typically money you pay for a service or maybe a regulatory requirement. It's often fixed, either one time or recurring each month.
Like an activation fee when you start?
Yep, or the monthly service fee just for having the plan active. Or sometimes there are things like an emergency services fee, which is often a government-mandated contribution to things like the 911 system. These fees are usually there regardless of how much you actually use the phone.
Okay, so that's a fee. What's a charge then?
A charge is usually for something specific you consumed, often beyond what your plan includes, or maybe for a physical product. So if you go over your data limit, you'll get a data overage charge. If you make international calls not included in your plan, you'll see charges for those minutes.
Got it. So fees are for the structure, charges are for extra usage or items, and understanding this helps you spot the price trap.
Absolutely. The price trap is classic marketing. They advertise a really low rate, like the $40 mega value plan. Sounds great, right?
Yeah, seems cheap.
But then you get the first bill and it's way higher. Why? Because that $40 was just the base rate. They added on the activation fee, the monthly service fee, various taxes and regulatory fees, and maybe you even incurred some charges for going slightly over your limits without realizing it. The advertised price is rarely the final price you pay. Hashtag 2.2 negotiation and deal-making phrases.
Okay, so navigating these plans often involves some negotiation or at least understanding the language of deals. In our source, the customer had an issue because their phone wasn't compatible with the network. What does compatible mean here?
Compatible with simply means works well with or can function together with. In tech, it's often about technical standards like frequency bands for phones or maybe software versions for computers. An app might not be compatible with an old operating system.
But it's a really flexible phrase, isn't it? You used it for non-tech things, too.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like the example in the source, my roommate and I are just not compatible, meaning our lifestyles or personalities clash. We don't work well living together. So compatibility, whether it's tech or people, is about the ability to function together effectively.
Right. Now, when a salesperson offers something that sounds amazing, a free phone, a massive discount, what's the smart, slightly skeptical question to ask?
What's the catch?
Yes, what's the catch? What does that imply?
It implies you suspect there's a hidden downside, a negative condition, or some fine print that makes the deal less attractive than it first appears. You're asking for the hidden problem. Like, okay, the car is free, but what's the catch? Oh, you can only drive it between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m.
Huh. Okay. Now let's flip it. You ask for something difficult, maybe a discount that isn't advertised, or you need a specific phone model they don't usually stock. If the salesperson can actually help you, what might they say?
They'll often say, "You're in luck."
You're in luck.
Yeah, it signals good timing, good fortune for you. It usually comes right after your request, suggesting that coincidentally, the very thing you asked for just happens to be possible or available right now. You wanted the last blue one. You're in luck. Someone just returned one.
Nice. And one more negotiation phrase. Throw in. What does it mean if a salesperson agrees to throw in something?
To throw in means to add something extra to the deal for free, usually as an incentive to close the sale. It's often a smaller item related to the main purchase.
Like buying a new phone contract and they throw in a free case.
Exactly. Or you buy a car and they throw in the first couple of oil changes for free. It's like a bonus added value without you paying extra for that specific item. It sweetens the deal. Hashtag tag 2.3 cultural differences in mobile phone usage.
Before we move on from phones, let's touch on those cultural differences mentioned in the sources. First, the prevalence of monthly plans in the U.S. versus prepaid elsewhere.
Yeah, the observation was that monthly plans, which often require that credit check or credit card, are just more dominant here. This might reflect the U.S. financial system's emphasis on credit history. Prepaid is certainly available, but monthly contracts seem to be the default for many.
But the really interesting cultural bit was about phone etiquette, how people handle a ringing phone. Very different in North America compared to some other places.
Oh, hugely different. In the US and Canada, generally interrupting a face-to-face conversation or especially a meeting to take a phone call is often seen as rude.
So what's the expected behavior?
The standard practice is to use voicemail. Let the call go to the automated message service if you're busy, or you screen your calls.
Screen your calls. Explain that.
Screening just means you look at the caller ID, see who's calling, and make a quick decision. Is this important enough to interrupt what I'm doing? Or can it wait? You let the less urgent ones go to voicemail. The priority is usually given to the person you're currently with.
Right, but that's not universal.
Not at all. The source mentioned China as an example where the etiquette might be the opposite. Answering the phone immediately, even if you're talking to someone else, could be seen as the polite thing to do.
Why the difference?
It might be partly because voicemail isn't as universally used or relied upon in some places. So if you don't answer now, you might miss the call entirely. There's no expectation that they'll leave a message you can easily retrieve later. It's a fundamental difference in communication flow.
So knowing whether to screen your calls or answer immediately, knowing about voicemail?
Yeah.
That's not just tech language. It's cultural fluency.
Absolutely. Adapting to the local norm there is crucial.
Okay, let's shift gears to the world that changes perhaps the fastest. Computers. The language around them, specs, performance, problems, it evolves constantly. And we have to start with a core concept. Obsolescence.
Obsolete. Yeah, that's a critical word for understanding technology today. It means something, a device, a piece of software, even an idea is no longer useful or effective because something newer and better has come along and replaced it.
It's kind of brutal, isn't it?
Yeah.
A computer you bought just a few years ago might be perfectly functional, but a tech expert might call it obsolete.
Exactly. Because maybe it can't run the latest operating system smoothly, or it struggles with high-definition video editing, or it just doesn't have the ports needed for current accessories. Its capabilities have been surpassed, even if it still turns on.
And you mentioned it applies beyond hardware, too.
Oh, for sure. Like old words in English, thy and thou. They're obsolete. We just don't use them anymore. Your and you have completely replaced them. Progress makes old tools, whether physical or linguistic, obsolete.
So when you're looking at a new computer, you're hit with all this technical jargon, these specifications. Let's break down the key measurements, starting with the processor.
Right, the processor, often called the CPU, the central processing unit. It's basically the computer's brain. It runs the show, does the calculations, executes the instructions for everything the computer does.
And its speed is measured in gigahertz.
Gigahertz, yeah. Think of gigahertz as how fast the brain can think, or how many operations it can perform per second. A higher gigahertz number generally means a faster, more responsive computer.
How does that translate practically? Why should someone care if it's, say, 2 gigahertz versus 4 gigahertz?
Well, for basic stuff like writing emails or browsing simple websites, 2 gigahertz might be perfectly fine. But if you want to do more demanding things like editing video, playing complex games, running lots of programs at once, that 2 gigahertz processor will feel slow, it'll lag. The 4 gigahertz processor can handle much more, much faster. Things feel smoother, quicker.
Got it. Speed is gigahertz. What about capacity, storage space? That involves this scale of prefixes, mega, gigacarat.
Right, that hierarchy is important. Megabyte, MB, is the smallest unit we typically talk about now in consumer tech. Then comes gigabyte, GB, which is roughly 1,000 megabytes. And then terabyte, TB, which is about 1,000 gigabytes.
It ramps up incredibly fast.
It does. It allows us to store vast amounts of information in very small physical devices. Like the course mentioned, a 1 TB hard drive might hold around 200 movies. That gives you a sense of the scale.
Okay, but within storage or memory, there's a crucial distinction people often get confused about. RAM versus the hard disk.
Ah, yes. Super important difference. The hard disk, or increasingly solid-state drive, SSD, is for long-term storage. Think of it like the computer's library or filing cabinet. All your files, your software, your operating system, they live there permanently, even when the computer is off. Measured in GB or TB.
Okay, that's the permanent library. What's RAM then? Random access memory.
RAM is the computer's short-term working memory. Think of it like the desk space or workbench where the processor does its immediate tasks. When you open a program or file, the computer copies the necessary data from the slower hard disk into the much faster RAM to work on it actively.
So more RAM means?
More RAM means a bigger workbench. You can have more programs open and actively running at the same time without the computer slowing down. But crucially, when you turn the computer off, everything in RAM disappears. It's temporary. The hard disk keeps the data safe.
Right. Okay, so you've got the processor, brain, RAM, workbench, and hard disk library. But sometimes this whole system struggles. Things go wrong.
Oh, yes, the frustration. And the two common terms you hear are freeze and crash.
What's the difference? If my screen stops responding, is that a freeze or a crash?
Usually that's a freeze. The program you're using, or maybe the whole system, just stops responding. The mouse might move or it might not, but you can't click on anything, can't type, it's stuck. Often you have to force it to shut down or restart.
And you might lose unsaved work.
You might, yeah. Now, a crash is usually more abrupt and severe. The program, or sometimes the entire operating system, just suddenly quits. Poof, it disappears from the screen. Maybe with an error message, maybe not.
And unsaved work is definitely gone then.
Almost certainly, yeah. Crashes often happen because of a serious error the system couldn't handle. Both are incredibly annoying.
The way we talk about this tech often reflects how dynamic it is. Like that phrase the salesman used in the source, ever-changing.
Ever-changing, yeah. It's a nice compound adjective. It just means always changing, constantly evolving, never staying the same. Technology is the perfect example, isn't it? New models, new software updates all the time.
But you could use it for other things, too.
Sure. You could talk about the ever-changing fashion industry or the ever-changing political landscape or even something natural like the ever-changing surface of the ocean. It implies continuous, ongoing transformation.
Okay. Now, remember when the customer realized the tech guy wasn't fixing his old computer but was actually trying to sell him a new one? He said something very direct.
Ah, I know where this is going.
Yes, I know where this is going. What does that signal in a conversation?
It signals that you've figured out the other person's underlying intention or the likely conclusion of the discussion. You see the trajectory. You're basically saying, okay, I understand your motive here, or I can predict the outcome. It lets you cut through the preamble.
Useful in many situations, not just sales pitches, like predicting the end of a movie plot, maybe.
Totally. Or if a friend starts vaguely complaining about their partner for the 5th time that week, you might think, I know where this is going. Breakup talk again.
Right. Okay, last phrase in this section. When a salesperson is pushing the most expensive, feature-packed model, they'll often describe it as
top of the line.
Top of the line, meaning
the absolute best available. The premium model, the one with all the bells and whistles, usually the most expensive. It signifies the peak of quality and features within a particular product category.
But you wouldn't use it for everything,
Yeah.
right? Like you wouldn't call a chef top of the line.
Generally, no. It's mostly used for manufactured goods where you can objectively compare specifications and features, electronics, cars, appliances, tools. It implies technical or industrial superiority, the best model you can buy. Not usually for people, art, or food. Hashtag 3.3, the evolution and impact of technology.
It's amazing how fast that top of the line benchmark shifts. Thinking about the history of computers, like outlined in our sources, it's just this incredible story of compression and acceleration.
It really is mind-boggling when you lay it out. You start in the mid-20th century, the early era. Computers were these enormous machines, mainframes, filling whole rooms.
Slow, expensive.
Incredibly slow by today's standards, yeah. And hugely expensive. Only affordable for massive organizations, big companies, governments, universities. They weren't personal tools at all.
Then came the big shift in the 70s and 80s, personal computing.
Right. Thanks to pioneers like Steve Jobs at Apple and Bill Gates at Microsoft, computers started getting smaller, cheaper, and crucially easier to use. the graphical interface, the mouse. It opened the door for ordinary people to have a computer at home or in a small office.
That really set the stage for the next explosion, the 90s and the internet age.
The internet connected everything. Suddenly, you had this global network. Information became instantly accessible. Think Google replacing library visits, Wikipedia becoming a global encyclopedia, and communication got way faster with email becoming widespread.
And the latest major leap, the smartphone revolution, kicked off, arguably, by the iPhone in 2007.
Yeah, that put the power of a computer and the internet into your pocket. It wasn't just about calls anymore. It was about apps, specialized software for everything from messaging like WhatsApp to social media like Instagram. Constant global connectivity became the norm.
And the impact of all this on, say, learning English, which kind of what we're doing here,
Yeah.
it's profound.
Oh, absolutely. The tools available now because of this tech evolution are incredible.
Like what specifically?
Well, you've got endless authentic English content on YouTube, podcasts like this one, structured learning platforms like Duolingo make it like a game. Flashcard apps use smart algorithms, spaced repetition to help you actually remember vocabulary. Then there are online language exchange sites to practice speaking with native speakers anywhere in the world. And even sophisticated voice recognition software that can listen to your pronunciation and give you feedback.
It's like having a personalized tutor available 24/7.
Pretty much. And looking ahead, the next big wave is already here. AI, artificial intelligence.
Right. Programs designed to think and learn, almost like humans.
That's the goal. AI is already impacting so many fields, helping doctors diagnose diseases faster, creating personalized learning plans for students, optimizing traffic flow for safety. The potential is enormous.
And the sources even mention future stuff like smart glasses, household robots. Feels like science fiction becoming fact.
The pace is just incredible, which guarantees we'll constantly need new vocabulary to even talk about it all.
True. Okay, one last quick point from the sources on current tech. The Mac versus PC debate.
Ah, the classic rivalry. The sources basically summarize the common perceptions. Macs, using Apple's operating system, are often seen as easier to use initially, maybe less prone to viruses historically, and particularly strong for creative work like photo and video editing.
Performance optimized for that kind of task.
Right. Whereas PCs, usually running Microsoft Windows, dominate the overall market share, offer way more hardware variety and customization, and are generally the preferred platform for serious gaming because of that flexibility and industry support.
But the core language we discussed, processor speed in gigahertz, RAM, storage in GB or TB, that applies to both, right?
Absolutely. Understanding those underlying specs is essential, whichever system you choose. Hashtag outro.
Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, from the everyday friction of the supermarket checkout to the pretty abstract concepts driving our computers.
Yeah, we really tried to distill that high-utility language. Okay. Things like understanding the express lane etiquette, knowing when to say, cut me some slack, or ask, what's the catch? Getting the hang of cashback. And then in the tech sphere, differentiating fees and charges, understanding rollover, grasping obsolescence, and decoding those specs like dhertz and TB and RAM versus hard drive.
It's really about more than just the words, isn't it? It's about operating effectively in these areas, being an informed consumer, an informed user.
Exactly. It's about fluency in the language of how things work now in commerce and technology. Which leads us to the final thought we wanted to leave you with.
Go ahead.
Building on that history we just discussed, if technology is truly ever-changing, as we said, and if it's now the main way we learn, communicate, shop, work, then maybe digital literacy, not just knowing the words, but knowing how to use the tools effectively, is becoming as fundamental to success in the 21st century as basic reading and writing were in the past.
Wow. That's a powerful thought. It's not just about the vocabulary, it's about the capability.
Precisely. This deep dive gave you some of the language tools, but applying them, building that capability in this ever-changing world, that's the ongoing task for all of us.
Fantastic point to end on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the language of modern life.